Hey everyone, so if you're the kind of person who loves getting your point across with absolute precision, you are in exactly the right place. Today we're essentially going to turn you into a time traveler. We're totally demystifying the past perfect tense. Now, I know, grammar terms can sound a bit intimidating, but trust me on this. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have this mastered. Think of it less like a strict rule and more like a tool. It's basically a time machine for giving your stories crystal clear clarity.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First up, the earlier past. Then, we'll look at the past perfect formula. After that, negatives and questions, followed by when to use it. And finally, we'll wrap up with some practice and common mistakes.
All right, Section 1, the earlier past, traveling back in time.
You know, whenever we tell stories, whether we're catching up with a friend about the weekend or updating a colleague on a project, we constantly have to juggle multiple past events. But how do we make sure whoever's listening knows exactly what happened first? Well, that's exactly where this definition comes in. The past perfect tense describes an action that happened before another action in the past. Honestly, I love thinking of it as the earlier past. It really is your grammatical time machine. Using it means you're organizing history for your listener. You're giving them total clarity on the sequence of events without making them guess.
Let's ground this in a quick visual timeline. So let's say right now the present moment is 8 p.m. That's all the way over on the right. Now let's step back into the past. At 7 p.m., my friend arrived. That's a completed action, just your standard simple past. But what if I want to talk about something that happened even before my friend walked through the door? We look further back to 6 p.m. I had eaten dinner. Notice how the past perfect, had eaten, sits completely behind that simple past action of arriving. It perfectly orders the events for us.
Moving right along to Section 2, the past perfect formula, building the tense.
Now that we've got the concept down, the why behind the tense, let's look at the grammatical machinery. How do we actually build this thing? And this brilliantly illustrates just how incredibly simple the construction is. Seriously, it's just 3 easy building blocks. Step 1, start with your subject. Who or what are we talking about? Step 2, add the word had. Step 3, plug in your past participle, which we usually just call V3, the third form of the verb. So subject, had, V3. That is the entire engine right there.
Now, looking at this list, this is just a huge, easy win for us. In a lot of English tenses, you really have to remember to change the verb based on the subject. Is it is or has or have, do or does, but not here. No way. Unlike other tenses, had stays exactly the same for absolutely every single subject. I had, she had, they had. It literally never changes, which makes building this tense an absolute breeze.
All right, Section 3, negatives and questions, tweaking the machinery.
So we know how to build a positive statement. Now let's tweak our building blocks just a bit to see how we express things that didn't happen. The crucial point here is in the negative formula. All we do is drop the word not right after had. That's it. That's the only tweak. The positive is I had finished my work. The negative becomes I had not finished my work. And you can totally use the contraction hadn't, which actually sounds a lot more natural in everyday spoken English.
So what about questions? Well, this is just as elegant. Compare the positive sentence, she had called you, with the question right below it, had she called you? To form a question, you literally just take that magic word had and slide it over to the very beginning of the sentence. That one simple swap completely changes it from a statement to a question.
And hey, answering those questions is just as simple as asking them. If someone asked you, had you finished your homework, you definitely don't need to repeat the entire sentence back to them. You can just give a crisp, clear, short answer. Yes, I had, or no, I hadn't. Super easy.
Which brings us to Section 4, when to use it, navigating the rules.
We've got the formula down cold, so let's shift gears into real-world application. Let's revisit our timeline to illustrate the major use case here, showing the exact order of past events so your listener doesn't get confused. Imagine you're telling a story about a really frustrating morning. It's 9 a.m. now. At 8 a.m., you reach the station, but look over at 7:55 a.m. The train had left. If you just said, the train left, and we reached the station, it kind of sounds like you made it, right? But by saying, by the time we reached the station, the train had left, you instantly communicate the disappointment. The leaving happened before the reaching. Boom, clarity.
To make spotting and using this tense even easier, here's a really handy list of signal words. Think of these as your red flags that the past perfect might be needed. Words like before, after, by the time, already, just, and never. For instance, you might say, he had already finished the test, or they had never visited Egypt before. Whenever you hear these keywords in conversation, your brain should automatically start reaching for had plus V3.
Okay, final part. Section 5, practice and common mistakes.
Let's see how this builds your confidence by actively testing your newly acquired skills. Here is your first challenge. She blank her homework before dinner. The verb you need to use here is finish. Think back to that 3-step formula we just covered. What goes in that blank to show she completed this action before dinner time?
If you said had finished, you are absolutely right. You remembered the static had, and you used the V3 past participle of finish, which is a regular verb, so we just stick an ed on the end. Great job locking in that structure.
Okay, let's try another one. They blank before we arrived. The verb this time is leave. Now, this one requires you to think just a tiny bit harder about the V3 form, mostly because leave is in a regular verb. So what is the earlier past here?
The answer is had left. Excellent! Had stays exactly the same, and the past participle of leave is left. You're probably starting to see just how repetitive and reliable this formula really is.
All right, third challenge. Let's add a slight twist to this one by applying that negative form we talked about earlier. I blank that movie before. You need to use not and see. How do you build this negative past perfect sentence? The correct answer is had not seen, or, if you use the contraction, hadn't seen. Both are totally perfect. You just drop the not right after had, and you use seen, which is the V3 form of see. Look at that. You're navigating these rules flawlessly.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it shows the single most common pitfall for English learners, and honestly, even native speakers. Look at that top sentence, I had went to school. You might actually hear people say this out in the wild, but it is grammatically incorrect. Went is the simple past, it's V2. But our formula strictly demands V3, so the correct sentence is the one below it. I had gone to school. Mixing up those V2 and V3 forms is exactly where people trip up the most, so definitely keep a close eye on your irregular verbs.
Which brings us to our golden rule. After had, always use the past participle, V3. It's your ultimate anchor for the past perfect tense. You guys have absolutely mastered the time machine today. You understand the earlier past, the formula, and those tricky key words. So I'll leave you with this little provocative thought to test your skills right this very second. What had you accomplished before you watched this explainer today? Go ahead, formulate that sentence in your head using your new skills. Thanks so much for diving into the mechanics of language with me today, and keep putting these awesome tools into practice.